If referrals slow down or even worse stop, what other source or channel do you have to reliably produce qualified leads for your business? If your answer to that question is nothing, then my friend, you have what I call your single point of failure, or SPOF for short. Many service business owners think they have multiple channels because they post content sometimes, they have a website, or they run ads. But a channel doesn't really count if it's not producing qualified conversations with the right people. SPOF is the lack of pipeline sources or channels outside of referrals. In other words, non-referral pipeline. If referrals are the only source, that means that you're exposed to revenue risk, even if your business looks good today. So this reminds me of a particular story of a sales conversation I had with a guy years ago, right? It was a business owner. It was during COVID time, and he had mentioned that he had been in business for 20 years, right? Completely referral dependent. All his clients came from either referrals, recommendations, or his peer network. Now, the problem is that when COVID actually hit, a lot of the major brands became desperate because demand in their market was starting to shrink. So they started to reposition themselves in smaller markets such as the Caribbean, where they believed that they would have an edge in these smaller markets, and began aggressively selling into the Caribbean. And because of this, he lost a lot of clients to big name brands such as the AWSs or the Azures or the IBMs of the world. And it became even harder for him to create new demand with prospects who had no idea who he was, because he never had to create demand before. Because the only channel that existed for him was referral partners, so he had no other way to actually keep his pipeline full and from drying up. So he ended up contracting a lead generation agency that just completely made a mess of things, because they were just spamming people with no sort of marketing strategy behind what the hell they were actually doing. Which is kind of ironically how we ended up meeting, because, they ended up spamming me with one of those messages, and I ended up just responding to him saying, there's a much better way that you could actually do this that would be more effective. Now, this story illustrates a single point of failure in referral dependent businesses, and when you don't have external pipeline sources to ensure that you keep qualified conversations and opportunities coming in, when those referral partners or sources actually start to slow down or disappear. Alright, so now we get to the fun part. So now let's score your single point of failure risk. So do a quick assessment of the number of non-referral pipeline sources or channels that you have that has actually generated qualified conversations for you or sales opportunities in the last 60 days. So if 4 or more qualified conversations or sales opportunities came from those non-referral channels, then give yourself a 0. If it's 3, give yourself a 1. If it's 2, give yourself a 2. If it's only 1, then give yourself a 3. If you've been inconsistently dabbling but hasn't really produced much results for you, then give yourself a 4. And if you have no other non-referral pipeline sources outside of your referral partners or referral network, then give yourself a 5. Now, if you fall anywhere between 4 or 5 on that scoring system, it means you have high risk of referral dependency, and you should definitely work on that by installing new non-referral pipeline sources before it actually catches up with you. And not just doing marketing or sales on these channels, but actually build a system that's integrated, that can deliver the type of outcomes that you're looking for. Whether that's to attract better fit leads, more qualified sales opportunities and conversations, or high value clients that are actually willing to pay a premium for what it is that you offer. Now, if you only have 1, then that's a good place to start, but not a good place to be. So I definitely recommend adding 1 more to that actual pipeline source that you have. If you have 2 or more channels that are actually bringing in qualified sales opportunities and conversations for your business, then you should definitely work on how you can optimize those channels to ensure that you get the most out of them. Now, even if you have channels that generate qualified leads, it's completely pointless if you actually can't convert them. Which is why in the next video, we're going to be scoring your conversion strength risk. So you can click here to watch it, and I'll see you in the next video.